Life is a journey, right? That's kind of what I want to talk about. What was my life like before Haley Joy? She's 10 years old. Life before her was pretty simple, routine, basic, you know, that white picket fence, 2.2 kids, right? Perfect little life, enjoying ourselves. We had older children by now. I just had finished nursing school not too long before, and we were just ready to go, start living our life and building a career and establishing things. You know, the cars are in the driveway, you know, all the basic stuff you would, you know, expect. And of course, all of that changed. I still remember it very clearly this day. I was sitting there with my wife. We were hanging out in the room after the birth the next day, and it seemed rather odd that she hadn't been in the room with us yet. And so I think we just finished having that conversation about like, boy, it seems strange that she's not here. And then in walked, as I call it, the posse. And as a nurse, I knew pretty well at that point something wasn't right when you have a doctor and a nurse and then another person, and they like 5, 6, 7 people walk in the door to talk to you in the room about your kid. You just know it's not good. And sure enough, an ultrasound confirmed that she had a large hole in her heart and some other valve issues, and she was going to basically require open heart surgery. So, naturally, you freak out because it's your child, right? So fast forward 8 months into it, she's not breathing the best, a lot faster than a normal child would breathe. And so the concern was she wasn't gaining weight for the surgery, so we had to hurry up and do that. Then she ended up in the hospital 4 days where they ran a bunch of battery of tests. We ended up having adenoidectomy because she couldn't breathe through her nose. And so that was the next thing that was done. And then we got home, got her ready the next 4 months or so it was, or 3 months, I guess. And then the big day, going to Detroit, in Michigan, for a children's hospital. The cool thing was we had the chief of all the surgery do the open heart surgery, and that was pretty cool. So the surgery, I can tell you, I was a rock up until that moment. I remember it as clear as day. I get kind of chills and emotional a little bit when I think about it, but they walked in, the nurse and the 2 nurses came in, and I think the anesthesiologist, I don't even know, I was so like shocked, but I had her, she was sitting on the gurney there waiting in the little room, waiting for them to come get her, and then they opened that curtain up and they walked in and said, "It's time." And I literally grabbed her, I turned around, and as soon as literally she left my hands, I can never explain that empty, the whole, you're down from head to toe, like you just, like your life left you. You know, it was like she literally left my arms, and then it was like I dropped truly to my knees and just sobbed. And I knew, because as a nurse at that point and as a dad, it was like the 2 worlds collided, and I realized she is as good as dead. They're going to stop her heart. They're going to do the repair, and only if God be willing, it'll start up again and she'll be alive. I mean, that was the reality. And we sat in that painful waiting room, distracting ourselves. Every time I called any family member or talked to somebody who wanted to know an update, I couldn't do it without tears. It was just horrible. So that experience was one I'll never forget. She did it like a champ, man. I mean, if they were worried about her playing with all these tubes and all these things that were coming out of her, you know, from the surgery. There was 4 drain tubes and a big dressing on the front of her chest and things in her nose, breathing apparatus. I mean, you just can't even imagine all the stuff that was coming out of her body. But because she didn't play with stuff, she didn't fight, she just was the perfect patient. 4 days home on Tylenol. What? I was like, what a champ, man. So, we had a little hiccup in the giddy up, like maybe a week after we got home, where we went to the ER and just did some checkup on things. And outside of that, really, she did amazing. But after that, we started up with a different pediatrician who got a fresh perspective, a new set of eyes, and, you know, realized there was a lot of milestones that she did not hit. She didn't have like her pincer grasp, and she wasn't reaching out for things, and she wasn't walking at the age that she should have. She wasn't crawling like they thought. I mean, just a lot of interesting things. And then so that pediatrician came in and said to us after one of our follow-up visits with her, you know, it might be her being her, but I'd like to have some tests done, and it's going to be some genetic testing too, and I want to send you down to the geneticist and go. Okay, you know, we're not sure what to think. Obviously another swallow hard moment, like, wow, they're talking genetics now. What the heck, you know? That's crazy, right? So another new thing to endure. And so we ended up going downtown to see the geneticist at the time. Sat in a room for about an hour, and that geneticist looked at her and said, okay, thank you for your time. I have got 2 possibilities I'm thinking with this. We'll get the blood test to confirm, and then I will be in touch with you. And that was the gist of our meeting. And so, of course, like anybody, you sit on pins and needles waiting to find out, oh my gosh, what's going to be, right? And sure enough, we got the call. And that's when we became truly special needs parents of Smith-Magenis syndrome. And so we ended up seeing all kinds of specialists and, you know, geneticists, all that stuff to get on a plan. It was dealing with behavioral issues to sleep issues to just trying to figure out what it was like. And knowing that information just literally flipped our world upside down overnight. We were outgoing parents. We had tons of friends. We went to church. We did all kinds of community activities. We hung out with people till all hours of the night, playing board games and just enjoying people and life and community, because we really thrive in that space. But with her, it became impossible. So we became introverts when we were extroverted and community-based. It was just a radical shift in everything. And so we didn't know what to do. So we did what any parent does. You just start to go into almost survival mode, right? And you do what you can. Then, you know, fast forwarding now, we go from Michigan to California, where I am currently, she was probably 6 or 7 when we got here. And then we were here for a good year or so, got a job established, got a good situation going again. And one night she wakes from her sleep. I walk into her room, and I just walk past her, and I kind of turn around and I face her, and she walks towards me, but she's toy soldiering like into me. And I'm like, what in the heck are you doing, silly? Then I realized, oh my gosh, she's having a seizure. Freaked me out. I thought and we were giving her supplements to help her sleep, and I thought, oh my gosh, we OD'd on it. So, you know, we just assumed that was the situation. Gosh, I wish I was so right, but we weren't. And now, again, after we kind of got a rhythm going with her Smith-Magenis syndrome, we now are dealing with epilepsy. And that has, to this current time frame, pretty much ruled our life and world, and it's been a really tough challenge. So, you know, again, further isolation, further, you know, on edge. I mean, talk about sleeping on the, like, you know, those people that go climbing and they sleep on the edge of cliffs when they're up in the high altitudes and stuff on mountainsides, you know, that's what it's like having a kid with epilepsy, like laying there at night at bed. You never know when you might fall off the cliff, right? And so going to a seizure, whatever. And so it's like, you're just never restful. You're always edgy, and especially when you're not under control. So yeah, one of the things with seizures is you're so helpless. You know what I mean? You just sit by and watch you have to sit by and watch your kid just violently shake. And it's horrible. And you know what's even worse is when we were trying so hard to control them with diet, with hope. And you know how it is. You get really hopeful and you see some great things, and then suddenly a drastic change. It's like a kick to your chest, you know? Oh, I hate it. It's because it's your kid. It's my little girl. And
and you see how it impacts your wife and the rest of your children, it changes your whole life. So I'm just looking for answers, and I hope we can find one. So we journey further along in our, we've been about 2 years now, a little over, working with some folks trying to get rid of the epilepsy, if you will, right? If there's such a thing, or cure it, or stop the seizures, reduce them, whatever can make life far more manageable and better for us with her. And so we met up with a lady who manages our CBD oil, who's a physician and MD. And so we were on that journey for about 2 years. Things improved. The medication route, unfortunately, made her symptoms so much worse in terms of her behavioral stuff. Tearful, sad, depressed, crying, tantrums. It was hell on earth. Okay, it was a nightmare. So we had to get her off of that medication. The prescription medication was not working. We found a neurologist who said, "Hey, I support the CBD oil," which again, that's a rarity. So much of our journey has been riddled with beautiful miracles and blessings that I believe God has given us all along. And so we met up with Bonnie Goldstein, who she's amazing here in LA. She got us on the CBD oil. We've been slowly upping it, doing our thing. It's helped, didn't quite get us where we wanted to be. So we went back to the neurologist who supports her, and we said, what is next? And they were like, let's try the ketogenic diet. Oh my gosh. If I could only tell you, in personal experience, I was violently sticking my heels dug in like there is no way in double HE, you know what I'm saying? No way in heck that we were absolutely gonna do any keto anything because of my own experiences. Not a chance. But then the voice of reason came in and said, it's your kid. You gotta try. So begrudgingly, I agreed to it, but there was no way I was going to, or nobody else in my life other than her was going to do it, because it never worked. So we went along with it, met the dietitian, started working on it. And honestly, within a couple of weeks, it was working quite well. She's dropping weight. She's not having the little seizures that she deals with, where they're the staring kind or the absent-minded ones or whatever, smacking her lips and just kind of drifts off for a minute, 30 seconds at the most, last 10 seconds stuff, all that little stuff like that. And then, so we were pretty happy with that. Unfortunately, the major seizures, we got about a 30-day run before those returned. And then we were, in that situation again, like, darn, the little ones are gone, thank God. So that's been maintained. But for some reason now, the major seizures weren't going away. And so that really, really frustrated us.
This mug, pretty good representation of how it feels to be in that space without answers. 4 months ago, we started a journey with the ketogenic diet for her seizure activity, and within we had hope in the first 30 days, a couple of weeks actually, but 30 days we went strong without a seizure. Nothing, no little ones, no big ones, nothing. She was doing amazing. And then we hit a little bump in the road. The little seizures every day are completely gone, and were gone. And so we were really ecstatic about that. And then we got a blood meter kit because the urine sticks weren't showing that she was in ketosis. So we're like, okay, great. So we got that. And then she started having the big seizures, and we're talking the ones that shake violently. You stop breathing and turn blue, all that scary stuff. And then checking on the meter, she wasn't registering a therapeutic level that they recommend to be in nutritional ketosis. And I thought, oh, maybe the meter's broke. And, I've been joining her on the journey and seeing results along with her, thankfully. And so I thought, well, I'll test mine. And it was negligible. And just like anything, you're hopeful, like, oh, well, I'll chalk it up to the meal we had and this and that and the other thing. And so you just kind of totally think, we're okay, right? And then we hit a violent section in there where she was
seizing 3 times in a row, and then 4 days later 4 times in a row, which she never did, and we had to do like diastat to help her out. And then she, had one more 4 days later, and in between all that we got blood work back and found out we weren't in ketosis at all. And just all the energy, time, and everything we put into getting her into that state for nothing. I have to be honest about something because I want to be honest, real, and authentic. And this is not easy to say. It's certainly not easy for people to receive. She got to be so much an object in my life and something I resented and didn't want to face the reality with. I feel like a horrible parent saying it, but I can't but hope to say it because I know other probably parents feel it too. And you need to know you're not alone. That we are here for you. And there are people that go through what you go through. But I had points up till probably 4 months ago, honest to God, I was praying for her death. I wanted her to go away because it was all about me, obviously, And I try to justify it by saying, it would just be better for her to be made whole in a space and live in perfect peace and all those things. I read somewhere a quote or heard it on a podcast, I don't know, but the statement was, the object is the way. And wow. I chewed on that statement for 2 weeks. I understand it's a book, so maybe you ought to go read it. I might read it myself someday. I don't know, but it was powerful enough a statement that it stopped me dead in my tracks of life. And so that was a pivotal moment. So whoever wrote that book, said that statement, whatever, thank you. You changed my life. And now I realized she wasn't going away. God was not taking her home. And so deal with it. And I can tell you the lesson in it is there is no way to avoid that object in your life. You have to go through it. You have to deal with it and focus on it to its completion, whatever that might end up looking like or being. But you have to do it. I was introduced to a gentleman who's a scientist and a researcher, and he's an amazing human being, Ryan Lowry. And I reached out to him, and mind you, he's very, very well off in the community of ketosis and ketones and that whole world of ketogenics and studying. And he's a busy guy, in other words, very well respected, well known, probably recommended to come visit and speak and share on and do all these things. And he's got his own business he's running in sports nutrition and all kinds of craziness. And so here I am, little peon me, thinking, yeah, I'm going to reach out to him on a direct message on Instagram and he's going to respond to me, right? Well, he did. And that, my friends, changed everything for me again in a really great way. I could not believe that guy was so thoughtful, so loving, so supportive, so involved, so just forthcoming with information that helped me get where I needed to be to the next step. So he shared with some things on exogenous ketones. And I had heard a little bit about them. Long story short, I was like, okay, I'm interested. But the ones that I had seen people using them, they were everybody about weight loss and looking beautiful and body beautiful, all this stuff. And I was like, I'm not interested in that. I'm looking for my daughter's issue, and I need somebody that can respond to that and help me with that issue. And I asked him then, do you have somebody? And he said, absolutely. Give me your number and I'll connect you. And so therefore entered this gentleman's name, Dustin Schaefer. Love you, man. Boy, he changed everything. And here's the serendipitous piece to this. It's coincidental, right? I get in touch with him. He texts me and says, hey, I understand your daughter's got epilepsy. I think I can help. All right, sweet. I'll get you. I got to hit a flight here. I'll call you in a few hours. We'll get in touch. Okay, cool. And then he proceeds to send me 2 text images shortly thereafter that conversation. And the one is on his sleeve of the Charlie Foundation, which is all dealing with epilepsy. That was coincidental, right? And then he shows me the front of the shirt and it says Ketones Body Mind or something like that. And I was like, no way, this is incredible, right? Okay, so then fast forward, he calls me back. We get on the phone and he says, I think we can help. And he says, I got my brother-in-law who we take care of, who had some issues at birth with oxygen deprivation, and it really affected his brain and his short-term memory, and he also has seizures. Really shocking. Oh, this is so coincidental. And then he says, we've been given these exogenous ketones, and I think we can help you. No way. This is cool. And then he sends me over a success story of someone he directly helped who had been very much in our situation, had tried everything, and they were even more strict with the keto diet than we had been, and I think we've been pretty tight. So if they could go to that extreme and not have any success, well, about the same success we had, I didn't know what else to do. I had to go with this option, and I'm so grateful we did. So my continued conversation with Dustin, and he says, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna keep the diet as it is. We're gonna add these exogenous ketones, and we're gonna taper them up and see what we can do.
It's been almost a month now being on therapeutic ketones, and we are seeing tremendous results, not only from myself, from my family, and from obviously Miss Keto Kid, Haley Joy. We're so excited. Boy, where do I begin? I must say, energy levels through the roof for all of us, including Haley. Very active, very cognitively alive, like she's never been before. Super excited about that. She acts like a little girl. We've got a little girl again. She doesn't get lost in her iPad for hours and just veg out and not interact and be involved. She actually wants to play games and do stuff, and she's really engaged. So that's been huge. Her sleep is a little bit better. Our sleep quality has significantly improved. Energy, like I said, has been great for my wife. Mood stabilization. I dare say my wife will see this, I know, but her mood is way better. And she even kind of told me at one point, like, the irritation with just the stress of dealing with all the kids and the running around and craziness, it's like I actually can kind of tolerate it better than I used to. Just feeling more even. Her energy level is definitely better. She feels better most of the day. So win there. The brain fog and like focus for me especially, holy cow. And then I'm not as irritable. With Haley, we don't sleep that well for the most part. And so and not only that, I was just stressed out in general and frustrated. So like you poke the bear and you're going to get the growl, you know what I mean? I just was like really on edge all the time. And I feel like I just like relax the shoulders, just life is chill, very confident, excited about things, looking forward to things. So it's just beautiful. It's so beautiful. I love it. I'm very happy with that. I've been able to whittle the middle, man. Yeah, buddy. I'm telling you, that's been 7.5 years of killing myself with so many different things, and nothing's worked. But this works. Weight loss, fat loss, energy for your workouts, the motivation to go do the workout. Hello. I'm telling you, man, this stuff is just incredible. And I know it works because we did the keto diet very strictly for several months, as you obviously saw the story about stuff here previous to this video. And I'm telling you, I know it works and I know it's real because I knew what ketones felt like then, but this is like 10x'd it. It's just incredible. So those are the cool benefits we're all experiencing there. With respect to Haley's activities from her epilepsy, I must say, very, very pleased with it. I don't want to be making any medical claims or anything like that because it's really not appropriate. So I hope you understand what I mean when I say we're doing really good in the area that was disrupting our entire existence because of her epilepsy. So we're on a good stretch. We've had some really good stretches. It's a work in progress, but vastly improved. I mean, immensely improved, giving us a lot more breathing, relaxing feeling, I guess. We're not as worried and nervous anymore. It's been wonderful.
Again, I think it's a work in progress because there's been some hiccups, you know, in the process, and some tough moments still where we have to deal with her epileptic fits, let's call them. And otherwise, they're far fewer in between now. We've gone several weeks without issue. We did also, because of this, I think, having a nice baseline to measure now, we actually have kind of figured out that the stress in her environment can be a trigger for an epileptic event. And so we tested that theory recently when I left, and then other excitement with my daughter and her husband coming to visit while I was gone, and then me coming back and them leaving, and just kind of created some, I'm sure, excitement and chaos in her life, but also in her brain, and overstimulation and all that. We did have some events go on, and so but since then things are back in pretty good order, so we're very, very pleased with things. We're very, very happy. I hope that we'll figure this out, and like my wife and I discussed, at the end of the day, if it's way improved than what it had been, then, you know, she's got epilepsy. That's just what you got to deal with. I'm trying not to be married to the outcome. I'm just trying to improve the process in the journey along the way. I think that's been the life lesson overall in probably this entire documentary video that you've been watching about our family situation. How can we improve the journey and make it the best journey possible? And I think that's the message I want to communicate to every one of you that's watched, and I thank you for your time. It means the world to me. So get away from being married to some certain outcome and start being more concerned about the process and the journey that you're going to go on. And I think that would lower your stress level. You'll just feel better about your everything. You know what I mean? I hope that's making sense. Just find joy in that journey, right? And find people to lock arms with in that journey and go on that journey with you. And that's why I think you can find the joy in your journey. And again, be less attached to any particular outcome. If it turns out great, okay, cool. But if it doesn't, then it's okay too, because you weren't so attached to it being the end all be all, right? So again, appreciate you. Thank you so much for your time. If you found this any value or moving, I would appreciate the share and send it to somebody who thinks you think would benefit from this. And if you'd like to support our journey, go ahead and reach out to me. I'd be happy to talk to you further. And I appreciate you again. Thank you for your time and attention. God bless you.